Alright, so for today we have a very simple and short video. Today we are going to be creating a thin plastic shader. We also do have a thin plastic preset as well, but as I said, we are going to be creating everything by hand. So let me show you my scene. This is my scene, just a 3D model of a coffee cup and a floor. Alright, so I'm going to select the bottom part and I'm going to hit Shift and I to isolate this object, and I'm just going to delete the inside part of this model. So as you can see, I'm going to select one face and shift double click on the other, so it will select the whole edge loop, and I'm just going to delete this one. All right, one more thing, I'm also going to be deleting this one as well. Okay, so that's it. So Shift I again to bring everything back. So I'm going to go back to my main camera and let me show you my Arnold scene. So as you can see, I have nothing but a default lambent material. So I'm just going to apply the first material on my floor. All right, let me just change the test resolution to 50% and new material, Arnold, stand surface. Okay, and let's make this somewhere grayish around like this. Okay, I think this is good enough. Yeah, 0.5 and the roughness value to 0.2, right? Or maybe a little bit. Yeah. All right, the next thing is to create this plastic shader for this cup. So I'm going to create one more material. Let me just select my floor and call this material floor. Select your cup and new material, shader, and let's call this cap. I'm going to make the roughness to about 0.34, something like this, and change this to somewhere around like 50. Yes, and I'll do the same for this. I'm just going to rename this. Yeah, so we have the cap shader. So right click existing material and I'm going to just select cap, and that's it. So for the main shader, I'm going to select my main bottom part and select your assign new material, Arnold, and stand surface. I'm going to call this plastic, and to create a plastic you have to turn off your diffuse and go into the transmission, make the value 1, and now we have a glass, but we don't want the glass, we want a transparent plastic. So I'm going to select my object again, go to your cup shape, Arnold, and turn off the opaque. That's the first thing you have to do when you're creating a plastic. Then go back to your plastic, and there's one thing when you're creating a very thin walled material, for example a soap bubble plastic material, or you can say a leaf. So you have this thin walled option where Arnold treats your object as its density volume is pretty low. So I'm going to turn this on and instantly you get this. So now your object is actually looking like a plastic material, and that's it. So if you want to like play around with this, what you also can do, let me just close this one, and I'm going to go into my front view. I'm going to hit F to focus on my object, and I'm just going to take another cylinder, or you can say let's just duplicate this one. So I'm going to select the outside faces, and I'm just going to go to edit mesh and duplicate this. So I have a duplicate mesh of my cup, so I'm going to center pivot this and scale this down, right? Shift I to isolate this object and just delete the bottom part. All right, sorry, top part. We don't need the top part that much. All right, perfect. And also the inside part. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to close this from the bottom. Let me just delete this one and this one. Let me just zoom in, and this one. So now we have a straight cylinder. I'm just going to select all these edges, go to mesh and fill hole. There's one more thing we have to do. Select the faces, hit Ctrl E, or you can also select extrude, and you can just simply extrude this down. Hit G to repeat the same command and scale this. It will just keep the whole topology neat and clean. Now there's one last thing to do, is shrink this down as per your bottle. Like for example, your thin plastic should be, the liquid inside we are creating should be a little bit smaller than the original volume of your cup. So we are just going to scaling this down. Alright, so select this, and I'm going to turn on my X-ray so I can just see through the whole thing. Alright, so I think it's looking good. I'm going to turn off my X-ray now, and I think I accidentally deleted my original cubes. No worries, I'm just going to extrude this upwards. Alright, sorry, T, and somewhere around like this, 0.15, and there we have it. So let's go back to our scene, MinCam. Let's turn on our IPR. Okay, so right now, as you can see, we have this flow going on. That's why we can see the bottom part, which is complete black. If I move this to somewhere fairly low, as you can see, we don't get that blackness. So that means our thin plastic is working perfectly. Now I'm going to go to my outliner, and I have this, where is it? Yeah, this is what we wanted. I believe it was, I think it was this. Yeah, so there's one more thing we have to do, is fill this from the top as well. I'm going to select this face, hit Ctrl E, and just extrude this, hit G, and that's it. So let's make the Z value to 0 again, and I'm going to assign a new material to it. Let me just close this and turn this on. Yeah. Alright, assign new material, Arnold, stand surface, and first of all, let me just go to my stand surface, remove the diffuse, and I'm going to turn this off. Go to my outliner, select that liquid again, turn off the opaque, close this again, and then go back into the stand surface. I'm going to call this liquid, and the transmission value will be 1, and the IOR value will be 1.333. And for the transmission color, I'm going to change the color to something like this. Yeah, so we have some iced tea going on. So this was just an example of what you can do with this kind of shader if you're trying to showcase something like a plastic material or translucent material. This is what you can do to showcase that. So this is really simple and easy to do. All you have to do, make sure whenever you're creating something relatable to the plastic or very thin material, make sure you have geometry, thin wall going on. All right, obviously I'm not going to do that for the cap since it's a plastic material, but you get the idea. The other thing is, let me just go back to my perspective view. I'm going to delete all of this, and let's take a sphere. Okay, let's turn off the IPR. All right, so I have my sphere going on, perspective shape. So for this, if I apply a new shader, stand surface, and go to the thin film to 270 and 1.4, and the geometry to thin wall and transmission value to 1. And one more thing is to change the opaque. You'll get something like this. So in order to achieve this kind of effect, you have to understand the thin wall. If the thin wall is disabled, you'll get something like this, which is not exactly what we want. This is thin wall turned on. So anything fairly you can say little dense in volume, you have to turn on the thin wall, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Enjoy creating your plastic materials.